Hello, hello. Welcome to the Thoughtful Age podcast. And today I have a very interesting guest today, whose name is Christina Naumova, and she works now as technical program manager at Google. I was fortunate enough to work with Christina some time ago at one of the company we were working on the same project. She was the QE manager at the time, and uh, I just recall those times with the pleasure and kindness and with some warm memories, like if I can put it this way. So that's why I decided to invite Christina to my podcast and talk about her journey, about her role, about the technical program management and what it is in general. So Christina, could you please give us a brief introduction about yourself? And maybe
Sure.
tell us a bit about your current role as technical program manager.
Sure. Hi, Dima. Thanks for inviting me to your podcast. Yeah, as you've said, I'm currently working as a technical program manager at Google, and I've been in this role for I think a little over than 5 years so far, across like various different companies and through two different countries. I'm originally from Ukraine and now live in US for almost 5 years. Speaking of role, yeah, technical program manager, usually it's called like TPM role. It's a person responsible for delivery of some technical initiative. Usually it should be something larger in scale, so it won't be some small feature on the UI. Usually that kind of smaller scale project doesn't require don't require TPM, but programs that spans across the organization through different departments. If you're building some complex system where you'd like collaboration of multiple technical teams, sometimes non-technical teams should also be involved to launch this product or new feature. So that's the type of setup that usually require a TPM. But again, this role might be very different from company to company. So kind of person responsible for successful delivery, allocation, timelines. It's general role description, but specifically to the need of the organization or setup of the company, your responsibility might vary.
I see. Yeah, like it's interesting because technical program manager is something that is like the role is kind of on the rise, I would say. Like there are more and more companies that are realizing the need of this kind of person on board. Like at Kinesa, we're doing the same. We're also looking at hiring more technical program managers across to manage cross-team initiatives or some cross-team projects that involve like the effort from like a lot of people and from different groups as well.
Yeah, I'd say
Could you
maybe a
please?
lot of companies, when they pass some threshold of size, they come to the need of a little more structure, a little more alignment when the company is no longer like a small startup that just like do the MVPs all the time, when it's more settled, I'd say, and the need for um, more predictability and visibility into how we can build something or deliver comes. That's when usually like TPM role comes to mind of upper management, someone who can help
Mm,
achieve that.
right. Yeah, I like the word predictability. However, uh, why did you decide to go to this position? Like I've like you had different experiences before. You had kind of different roles before. Why the technical program manager? What is your
Correct. Yeah.
personal first? Yeah.
Yeah. I'd say it's a match of maybe uh, personal interests, opportunities, and technical background that I had anyway. So I have like a computer engineering degree, and then I started working as a QA engineer. And naturally, kind of from QA space, I grew into QA manager, and at some point wanted to have a little more maybe scope in my vision or the areas of responsibilities that I handle. And at that point, naturally, the role of like technical project manager came. So project manager is usually a role on a smaller scale programs, maybe with a little less of cross team, cross functional coordination. And then after a few years as a project manager, naturally grew in technical program manager. So it's kind of I've been interested in tech, in computer since I was a kid, and my school helped a lot there. We had like a lot of like computer lesson studies, so that kind of made a huge push why I chose computer engineering as a degree. And then being in QA field kind of helped me stay in technical field. But naturally, also, I'm very, like, maybe even to unhealthy degree, obsessed with planning and order and like putting everything in proper buckets. So it's not like kind of, I'm putting like towels by colors or something like that. But I really like to create an order from chaos. I really like to organize people and work with people. So I feel like this, my, maybe my personality and technical background kind of came together in the TPM role. So that's why I'm staying in this
Made
role
the
and why,
perfect fit, made the perfect fit for you
at
personally.
least for me, I hope my
Yeah,
colleagues feel the same way. But so far, I enjoy it.
yeah, yeah, very interesting. And it's like it's nice to have this uh like ability to categorize everything properly and then put the system in place. It is what a lot of people is lacking, I would say. And this is very good for you that you have this ability. And if we are talking about like your current job at Google, and Google is known for its rigorous and thorough interview process. And like I know a lot of people try to get through, but the small fraction of them actually were able to accomplish that goal, getting into the Google. So what is your successful strategy? What helped you to navigate the challenge, to get ready and prepared for the interview, and ultimately get an offer?
Yeah, I'll admit, like, the interview process was really challenging and it was very long. I know, like, the span of this whole interview process might be different, like, from person to person, from role to role. But for me, it took, I think, 6 months, little over than 6 months from the first like reach out by recruiter to me to the final offer. Also, I'd say kind of where it started for me. It's a lot of luck that recruiter reached out to me asking if I'm interested rather than I'm trying to like send a resume and even get someone to look through it and validate it and invite for the interview. So even that step sometimes is challenging for huge companies. So recruiter reached out. Then there were total, I think, 11 rounds of interviews. It's usually a few screenings by HR, by technical people, by engineers. Then there is a large, it's called panel session. It's usually 5 to 7 interviews scheduled one after each other, or maybe like split in few days if it's hard with scheduling. For me, it was just one day and 5 interviews in one day. Like I think it was 45 minutes each. And then there are usually some team matches. It's when people from the team that are potentially looking for the person to fill in the role talking to you, or there can also be some additional rounds if people are not sure maybe what areas are your main core skills or which domain you might fit better. You might be scheduled additional rounds. So I had kind of both additional rounds and team interviews. What helped me, it's honestly like doing a lot of homework to prepare for those interviews. So I think it's like, to me it would be impossible to, just to go to the interviews and freestyle with some cases or answers without a preparation and recap of past work or situations I was in. So I really spent a good amount of time like preparing for those interviews, kind of making sure I got into a habit to have a structure in my answer rather than just start telling a very long, endless story about something that was important to me, but really not getting to a point. Um, Plus, you need to have a good technical understanding of some technologies or the projects you used to work in the past. So maybe 50% of all rounds are really technical about like system design, engineering. Usually for TPM, there are no coding interviews or algorithm solving. But system design is usually getting quite deep, or conversations about technologies or how you've been helping to solve for some technical challenges on projects you worked on. So I'd say kind of a good recap of past work, maybe some digging into technology that you didn't really were that deep into, even while working on those projects. Plus, doing a preparation of different cases. You can Google it pretty much. It's called like behavioral interview, or sometimes like leadership skills. There are various names to it. But in general, it's more like what person are you to work with, how you deal with conflict situation or with complex situation, or when everything is falling apart, like how you behave or how would you behave the next time. So it's to understand whether your working style fit into the culture or into the company.
Mm,
Same.
I
Yeah.
see. Yeah, it's fascinating. Like, and just those numbers, like 6 months and 12 rounds of interviews. That's insane.
Yeah,
how did
yeah.
you
It
how
was
how how
hard.
did you feel how did you feel in the process? By the way.
I'd say the whole process I was all right because I really wanted to try. I think it was a good opportunity. You should, like, I don't know, do your best to see if you can or cannot. It was like kind of a challenge for me to try. So I was really like focused on preparations, like reading through some materials. So I was very, focused. But towards the end, when there was like one additional round, then like a silence for a few weeks, then another additional round, then silence, then team matches started and silence. So I was really exhausted by this wait. And like the last maybe months or couple weeks, I was already thinking just I want to hear whatever answer is, yes or no. I just want this wait to be over because it was, you put a lot of time in it, you really wanted
Right,
it, but
right.
kind of you need to have an answer, yes or no, whether all your efforts were enough or not enough. It's also, some information, right? So you would know, okay, if I try again in a few years or next time, maybe I should try something different or focus on some different areas. But while you're not getting a definitive answer, you just don't know what to do. And honestly, I really wanted to get that opportunity, and it was hard for me to just, I'll forget about it. Whatever would happen, that would happen. So it was, at the end, was exhausting, like emotionally difficult.
I see. Yeah, and those long times of like just
Yeah,
sitting and waiting in this uncertainty, like and like considering amount of effort you already put in, and you're just not sure how the outcomes would be. Yeah, like I can imagine it is tough.
yeah.
However, what do you think? Like you already mentioned that your skills of being deeply technical and having those natural ability of categorizing everything and bringing systems in place. What are other skills you believe are important for the kind of role you're having right now?
I'd say maybe flexibility in communication style. That's really important. You really need to work with a lot of different peoples. They all have their own like priorities or goals. Sometimes you just, interrupt their normal working process, asking for kind of some additional work for those teams to take, or borrow people to help with some part of the system. So you need to kind of learn how to adjust your communication and your working style to different like personalities of people. With some people it's easy to work with. It's just like, can you help there? Yes. So that's the best case scenarios. But with some people it's more conversation, it's more alignment, it's trade-offs. So you have to be very flexible there. What else I would say? Also, I'd say what I'm trying to do, and I think it helps me to feel like comfortable at the places I work with, is really to prioritize, people instead of like my own maybe goals or my due dates or kind of whether I want to do this or I don't want to do this. Sometimes people just ask for help. Just an example: one guy from work reached out to me that he was kind of assigned a task of creating, like, running a summit for our organization focused on the area that he owns, but he was not sure how to organize it, where to start. So kind of, if I would take just my job responsibilities and don't go outside of that box, I could have said, like, sorry, no, I'm too busy, right? But I don't think that would be the right thing to do. Like, you're working with this guy, like, he's asking for help, you should try and help him. Doesn't matter that it's not your, it's not an impact on your work, it's more work for you. But why not to help other people and kind of doing this, tiny little things that are not really important at the moment. At the end, it helps you to create a trust with the people you work with, to create, um, like, friendly
Good
environment,
relationship. Yeah,
relationships. Yeah. So, and
culture. Yeah,
I think usually when people are doing that intentionally, like, kind of building their career through that, it's really noticeable. So I think it's just my general attitude. If someone asks for help, you should do your best and help. And I think at the end of the day, that really create a good environment at work, and it's pleasant for you to come to the office or just to the remote meetings, working with people, because you share these tiny little moments of something like personal. So I think that's
right.
that's that's also important, like building those personal relationships and not just be focused on success, impact, work goals, etc.
Awesome, awesome. No, I like that very much, and I also believe that as more you give, as more you get. Like there is no limits to that in helping people, and like just even some small advice that might be not noticeable for you might make a huge deal for somebody else, and then they will definitely appreciate that as well. And I like the point about using a different language with different people as well. Like it is
Yeah,
something that I also learned at one point, and I've read somewhere that it's like not like changing yourself in favor of other people, but it's just using like an adapter. Like you go to another European country, use a different like power socket. You need to use adapter to be able to use the network.
yeah,
And the same as with people, like different people require different approaches, and
yeah,
they would
exactly.
appreciate if, yeah, and they would definitely will appreciate it as well. And it's noticeable too.
Also, you honestly, you never know what other people are dealing with right now or going through. So even if someone is being maybe rude, I don't think you should right away, pull the trigger, escalate somewhere, or take and, like, get offended by that. You just might think that maybe something is wrong. You should try to work it through in kind of, uh, I think, smooth way, rather than start a fight. So I'm always trying to, have a different perspective. Like, maybe something else is going on. Like, we're not just our work, right? So should always consider that.
Exactly, exactly. And like you can just look at yourself. Like for example, when I'm tired and like if something bothers me, like I wouldn't be that kind to other people either. Like because I cannot even be kind to myself at those moments. So what what to
100%.
expect
Yeah.
from everybody else? Yeah, very good point. It just yeah, very very a lot of wisdom in those words too. So, you worked at different companies before, like Discovery, Warner Brothers, and now you're at Google. How your previous experiences shaped your approach to like whatever you do now, to management, to like working with people? Uh, Like, what are those unique perspectives you gained from those previous jobs you had?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's actually hard to maybe, separate it specifically. Like, I'm grateful to like discovery for like this specific skill that now I know how to work with stakeholders, or I don't know how to
Right.
communicate risks. But quite often at my job, I notice that I'm facing some situation, and I kind of just I know what to do because I had a similar situation, I don't know, like 10 years ago, and
Mm,
at that time I didn't know what to do. I tried maybe something, it didn't work. I tried something, it didn't work, and then I come to this like third option, it worked. So I kind of just know what to do. So it's really interesting to observe yourself through the experience that obviously there are unique situations and challenges at any new job, but sometimes situations are the same and you just know what to do, or you're less stressed, or just you see it's really bad but you already went through that, so you wouldn't be that kind of lost or stressed about it this time. So that was really interesting, and even some things that I thought probably I would never ever need this, that still kind of comes to the plate. So when I was a QA manager, I really hated to write down like job descriptions for like to hire people to our
hmm
team.
hmm
And I thought there that kind of I would never need this skills in like technical fields, but it's still like coming over and over. Like even as a TPM, sometimes you have direct reports, sometimes you don't, sometimes you manage the team, sometimes you don't. But honestly, kind of writing job description, it keeps coming. So I'm glad that I passed, this anger denial phase back then, and now I'm just okay. I just have to do it, and I'm not spending a lot of time on it. Or things like budgeting, business travel. Also, I thought like, why would I ever need it?
mm
And now when I'm asked like put the budget, I know what template I should use. I know what structure I should put. So it's really like 10 minutes job for me. So it's not, I'd say, core skills, right? But it's tiny things that you already did back in the past, and they're coming along together and like helping you to be faster or to be more efficient. So that's interesting to observe.
Okay, yeah. So actually, each role shaped your experience in some way,
Totally, yeah.
and like now you just leverage all of those small tricks and
Yep.
small things that you already did. Yeah. Okay. Um, something similar happened to me, by the way, as well. Like I started to doing interviews like maybe a second year of my career, and like I didn't understand why I do this. Either I like it or not. But then as more of that started to come, like I realized, oh, I like it. Like I like talking to people. I like learning from their experience. Like even though if it's just some screening interview and I need to give a brief like review from myself about that person or whatever.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, cool. So, and you already mentioned that while working as QA lead, you also were establishing QA teams and leading people. And is there anything from QA experience that you extensively use right now besides of the job description composition?
Totally. I'm not sure there are really maybe core skills I can right away recognize, but what definitely comes along, like in current role from QA experience, is a perspective of engineering team on what TPM is doing. So I remember like sometimes people in TPM role and the project manager role, sometimes they like to establish processes for the sake of processes without really just because it's written in some framework or is just a recommendation from somewhere that teams should follow specific procedure. um, and those people, they probably believe in that. And being in the engineering team, I remember how annoyed everyone was with that approach, or I realized what type of questions or behaviors from managers might irritate people. So kind of that helps when I'm now a little more on the kind of management side again, whether it's people manager, whether it's like project manager. I kind of have that perspective, and I'm trying to avoid those types of behaviors or formalizations. uh, TPM can't avoid, unfortunately, bugging people, and I realized how annoyed engineers or leads might be about the questions of timeline or like risks. It feels sometimes like a micromanagement, but it shouldn't really be like that. So kind of having an optics of being on that side of the engineering, I think it helps me frame maybe questions or communications with engineering team a little more efficient than it would be without that
Hmm.
experience.
Hmm. Yeah, good point. So you now can address those questions beforehand, before the questions will rise, because you know what the questions would be, and like your communication might be more wide, for example, or contain more details, or some like perspective that are not visible on some levels, let's say, right?
Yeah,
For the
yeah,
individual contributor, they might not be aware what is going on in the company, and like, but you are building a framework that will bring all teams together, for example, or will provide some more metrics to the leadership. And like, if you don't know, if you don't see the whole picture, this that thing might uh, mean nothing to you, and like you might think about that. Oh, what is why am I
yeah,
doing
yeah,
this? It's not
yeah,
important. Like, there's no purpose in that, and all.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, and moving on then. So, looking back at your career journey, do you have anything you regret and you would do differently? Like, knowing everything you know right now, and like went through everything you went through already.
That's probably a hard question. I don't think I would change anything in, maybe actions I did, because even some maybe conflicts that I had, that also like an experience that I'm currently using, and I'm really glad about the place where I am right now. So like I think, this butterfly effect, like if I change anything there, then I might not end up here. But
Right.
I feel like at the beginning, especially of my career, I was very stressed about every tiny little thing. So if I would say anything to myself, is like be less stressed. So these things, it would be solved. So don't worry about that much. So maybe that is something I regret, because I was really, really kind of stressing out about many small things back then. Mm,
Wow.
what
Yeah.
else?
Nice advice to yourself. Right. Relax. And
Yeah, not
everything will.
relax, but yeah, don't do that to yourself. So,
Yeah.
mm,
Don't be that worried, and don't be that stressed out because of those some small tiny things that are not like coming together, but it will ultimately resolve, and like you will ultimately get to a better place.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
true. And also, I was maybe like a little like too hard on myself. Like at the beginning again of the career, I thought that I should have all the answers. I should know how to deal with every situation, and if I don't, I was like thinking that probably something is wrong with me and I'm
Blaming
not doing a good
yourself, right?
job. Yeah,
Yeah,
something
yeah.
something like that. And I'm glad that I had really great like people around. I think that's my luck through my career. I had an amazing teams and people working with me, and great managers. They were saying that this, like, don't be that worried about it. It would come. It's called an experience, right? So that's why kind of people are getting more experience. They are less stressed. They know how to deal with more the wider range of situations. So it would just come. So kind of due to your best
Hmm.
abilities, and you would learn, and you naturally grow. So I mean, I think
Yeah.
at some point
But
I started to see that okay, they were right, probably.
No, I totally agree. The supportive environment is just crucial for everything you do. Like,
Yeah.
if there are people who are like ready to give you advice, like to calm you down and like support in whatever you do, like it is so important. It is hard to
Is there anything you
underestimate that.
regret in your career?
Uh, no, I don't think so. Like, I have the same perspective and the same opinion as you just outlined. Like, very resonates with myself. Like, I also believe that if I would change anything there in the past, like, I'm not sure that I will be in that place where I am now. But I like the place where I am now, so I don't want to change anything. Hence, I don't regret anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I also was recently asked the same question, by the way. What would you recommend to yourself? Uh, like being now here, what do you recommend to yourself in the past? And I would give myself the same advice as you just did
Really?
for yourself too. Just, yeah, just calm down, like everything will come, and don't be that stressed out. Like you are moving in the right direction, and everything uh will come. It's in its time, when it is time and when it is placed. Like, just don't worry about that, and do the best in your current place, and that's it. Yeah, and probably the last question I've had, maybe a bit similar to the previous one. What is the main lesson you learned from your career journey? Is there anything you can recommend or suggest to the person who is just starting in their career in tech and looking forward to some of the achievements and successes, and trying to understand what the good way of approaching that?
Um, that's an interesting one. Mm, it seems maybe two things. They're probably not very specific, but I really think those are the most maybe two important things for me that really helped me. So putting aside that, like to be in an engineering field, you need to have some good engineering understanding. So that's like a default. It's something you can't avoid. You have to know those things. Uh, I'd say the first thing is kind of put people first, not your personal goals or personal success. So kind of when you have a great team, you can do way more than just by yourself, and this whole journey would be way more pleasant when you're surrounded by great people you can rely on and that support each other. So I'd say that's the first thing. The second one, this is probably depends on personality, but I'm that type of personality. I think if some opportunity comes to you, you should really put all your efforts into trying and doing something for this opportunity. For example, like the recruiter from Google reached out to me. I was busy at the time. We were planning some time off, so kind of there was a big kind of idea to maybe just pass on it plus on confidence, but I decided, okay, this is an opportunity. I should do all I can to try it, and let's see how it ends. So, and that's not the only case. I think that's why I was able to get some good opportunities at work, interesting projects. It's because when I was asked for help or offered to try something, I was usually saying, yeah, let's try, and was figuring out on the go, rather than just saying, oh, pass because I'm, I don't know, too busy or something. So obviously there should be a healthy balance, not saying like yes to everything. But when it comes to opportunities that resonates with you, or something you were thinking about as some abstract idea, and a tiny opportunity that can get you closer to it comes, I think you should go all in on that and try it. So I think those are two things.
Amazing, amazing. Resonates with me a lot. Like, I would give the same advices.
High five.
Okay, so thank you so much, Christina, for coming. It was very insightful and interesting conversation, and uh, uh, it is
Yeah, thanks for having me again. Yeah, it was a great conversation.
yeah, big pleasure, Christina Naumova, people focused leader. Thank you so much.
See
Bye.
you.